When Jimmy was a kid, his father fled to the border of a neighboring country chased by soldiers. His people, the Karen, were being persecuted. With help, Jimmy was eventually able to travel through the dense jungle to reunite with his father. Together, they journeyed to a refugee camp in Southeast Asia. Jimmy attended an Adventist school in the camp operated by Helen Hall, a missionary from Australia. When he graduated, she asked him to teach. One day while he was teaching, a visitor from the city promised to sponsor his education. He studied theology and later coordinated the work among the Karen, planting churches and setting up feeding centers, orphanages, and schools for Karen refugee and internally displaced children. Later, when his name came up for resettlement in the United States, he was sent to North Carolina. Within 2 years, he already had 3 budding Karen church plants and was finding Adventist Karen refugee families scattered across North America. There are about 80,000 Karen refugees in the United States. Many are just trying to adapt to a new way of living in a foreign land. Some have found refuge and support in the Adventist Church, especially while being able to worship with other Karen refugees.
I have more friends in church, in Karen church, so we can speak Karen and we can understand each other. And if we go to American church and we don't know how to speak English, so we don't understand each other.
It is very important to worship in my language because we can understand our preaching or sharing gospel if we do it in our own language.
It's important because the church member and the pastor, if we can communicate straight to each other, then that would be better. Because if they feel needed help, they don't have to go to the interpreter, and then the interpreter has to translate it to the pastor again, because some of the personal problem we don't want to tell to the other person, so we can just go straight to the pastor.
Jimmy Shui pastors several Karen congregations in North Carolina and also serves as the Karen church planting consultant for the North American Division Adventist Refugee and Immigrant Ministries.
Pastor Jimmy did many things for the Karen people. Number one is he tried to organize every scattered church members who came to the United States. Every 3 years we have a family campaign for everywhere in the United States where we have a church. Every family is coming together to have a fellowship. Unless he is planning this, we don't have a fellowship, We just stay in our own states and we don't know each other. And also because of this, the young people are coming together, serving more in the church.
My favorite is to be together and worship together, sing together. We love the way Karen people do that because it sounds good. When they sing, they sound so good, and because Jesus gave them their voice.
The Karen Adventist believers across North America asked Pastor Jimmy to nurture and lead them, as many still are not yet fluent in English. Pastor Jimmy is planting churches among the Karen across this territory. This quarter, a portion of the 13th Sabbath offering will support refugee and immigrant ministry throughout the North American Division. It will give the opportunity for other groups like this to come together. It will also provide scholarships for them to get a valuable Adventist education. Please pray for groups like this. Pray that they find comfort in Jesus as they transition to life in a new land. Thank you for supporting the 13th Sabbath offering.
My name is Hannah Bungu. I teach world history for sophomores and junior senior English at Palau Mission Academy. It's a really awesome opportunity. Every single day I get to come into school and be with these kids where I get to interact with them and show them more about God. That's my biggest goal here. Every worship, every chapel, every single thing. I just bring it back to God. And so being a missionary, it might seem scary before you do it, but honestly, it's so awesome just being on the front line for God every single day. So most of us here in Palau are teachers, and the average day to day is you wake up and you try to eat breakfast, and then you go to staff worship, which is really, really important, because if we don't center ourselves every single day in God, then we cannot help our kids properly. Then after staff worship, the day starts. You go to your classes, you meet with your kids. Every single class starts with worship. So we do a worship thought and then get into the material. There are days where it's harder than others. Mondays tend to be pretty hard because kids are tired, but as the week progresses, things get a little bit easier and then they get hard again. But day to day is you come in, you teach them, and then you interact with them in the hallways, and you talk with them, and you hug them, and you high five them, and you know, check up on them, and they make you laugh, and you make them laugh, and then the day ends and you grade, and you grade pretty much the whole evening. You spend time with your housemates and with the other missionaries, and they understand what you're going through, so it's really cool because you get to share that experience with them, and then it starts all over again. It may not sound fulfilling, but it is the most fulfilling thing I've done in my life. Before coming to Palau, I did not get trained as a teacher. I was not an education major. I had no idea what I was doing coming out here. But you don't have to be an education major or a trained teacher. Yes, it does help, but God will equip you. When you answer His call, He will equip you. I was able to fulfill a whole year last year teaching 4th grade, and we're now in April of this year as I'm in high school. I don't always know how things are gonna come together, but God blesses. And so if you're scared about doing the work that God calls for you, you're not doing it on your own, because He's gonna help you and He's gonna be with you. And so that should not be a worry. Just trust Him and He's got you. You should definitely be a missionary. There are so many places that need your help. Guam Micronesia Mission is one of those places. I'm here in Palau, my favorite island with my favorite people. But wherever it is that God sends you, be a missionary.
Every year, Adventist schools like Palau Mission Academy rely heavily on volunteers like Hannah to teach the next generation of leaders. Many of the volunteers come from far away, and having a comfortable living space makes a big difference. Currently, volunteers live 20 minutes away. They travel by bus each morning to school. New on-campus housing facilities would increase the staff's productivity and, more importantly, their interaction time with the students. This quarter, a portion of your 13 Sabbath offering will help build staff housing at Palau Mission Academy. Please support Adventist education on this Pacific island by giving this quarter. Thank you for your generous contributions to mission.